Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Tougies Take podcast, brought to you, of course, by our friends at Manscaped. Now, before I talk more about the magic that is Manscaped, there's something to address. There's something a little bit different about the show, in case you had not been paying attention on the Twitter side of things, the YouTube side of things. There's been some changes in regards to the show. And I'll say this out of the gates. Again, check out the updates that was out on YouTube and, of course, on the new feed. And if you don't know, hey, there's a new feed. Check Twitter, check Discord, check YouTube. There's a bunch of new stuff. You'll find a way to listen to this. We originally entered today's show with the idea that this man here would be a guest, a one-time guest, maybe brought back in the future. And instead now, it is my new co-host of the show, Mr. Endo Mills of One Twitch fame. Endo, it's the start of a new chapter, buddy.
It's very, it's been a weird 48 hours where it was like, hey, you're a guest. Hey, you're the guy. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess I'm the guy now. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, again, it's one of those things, and again, I'll say this kind of like I said in the update. It's one of those things where I get a lot of people want to know, like, hey, what exactly happened in due time. I understand it. You know, I've been around the YouTube game a lot over the past decade, and trust me, I've seen it where it's like 1 second, everything looks good, and then the next second, well, wait, what happened? And sometimes it's an example of, and Endo and I both watched these channels, say, for example, a couple years ago, Super Best Friends and their channel, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it was, hey, we're done. And then there's another example of, say, the Game Grumps channel, when it originally started, where one day, here's JonTron, the next day, he's gone, but the show keeps going. Like I said in that quick little 5-minute video, these things happen on occasion. But we're going to keep going, at the very least. Some things will be different, of course. Different personality types here on the show, different dynamic, but I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out. That said, there is one constant. I mentioned them already. It is Manscaped, and of course, make sure to check out manscaped.com. Use code Tougie at checkout for 20% off your order. Free worldwide shipping. The lawnmower, the weed whacker, all the things you know and love that you have heard about on this show time and time again. It does not get any better than Manscaped. Now, Endo, we have a lot to get to today, sir, in regards to this show, but I felt as though there was pretty much no better way to start off the show than by getting to our viewer questions, because in a way, this is the start of the getting to know Endo portion of this podcast. For those who are not familiar, of course, with what I do on Twitch, for anybody who does watch on Twitch, they are going to be rather familiar with you. But we'll start off with this question from Tyler. What's your favorite color?
I think you can tell it's like gray, because like my shirt's gray, my hat's gray. This is a pretty sweet hat. This is like $10 at Walmart. It was nuts. And just gray or like blue. Not because I'm a Leaf fan, because I think blue is just a nice color. You can do a lot of things with blue, even though my Twitch stuff is all like orange. Very counterintuitive, I know. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, hey, don't worry. It's like the same thing where people expect me to use black and yellow because I'm a Bruins fan. It's like, no, blue. Blue's the way to go. Next question comes from Cam. I didn't even notice. I misread this question originally. But your favorite type of Asian-inspired food? Are you a big fan of Japanese culture, Chinese culture, Indian culture? What can you really go wrong with any of the three? That's my argument. But hey, get to know Endo.
Yeah. I hate to say I like all three. Not all three. There's obviously more than three. So there's my big three. My top three.
Three countries in Asia. That's
the ones that matter, basically.
Oh my
god. So I love Japanese food. I grew up really in an area that was kind of like little, not little Japan, but it had a lot of Japanese foods, all you can eat buffets. So we'd go grab that and just pig out on. I loved California rolls as a kid, just constantly. I could eat rows of that just nonstop. That's my number one. Chinese food, obviously, second, because late night takeout or whatever, just go there. Indian food, I've had a little bit more of it recently, mostly because like my people at my job are Indian and they do bring food from home and we'll cook it up on the grill. And I've gotten a little like a good acquired taste to it a little bit. I can't deal with like the curry though because it's very strong because it's like from like India, like off. I don't want to say fresh off the boat, but like fresh, like as almost as authentic as you can get in a way.
So what we've learned today is feel free to ask Endo any food questions, and he'll run with it. He'll go with it.
Yeah, basically. If people aren't familiar with the Twitch stuff, I'm the guy who randomly just posts up in Doogie's chat, hey, what should I eat? I'll openly ask everybody like, hey, what do you want? What should I eat for dinner? Like, choose what I want.
Now, see,
like,
that's what I thought the original question was, and I was going to be like, well, burger. Every
burger.
time the answer
Every time
on that poll, one of the answers is burger every time.
It's because it's like 3 a.m. Whenever I do it, it's like 3 a.m. Like I can't get anything else. Everything else is closed.
So we've covered favorite color. We've covered some of your favorite types of food. Now we got to clearly go to music, and that's from Hawks. Now initially it was like a specific type of music, but whatever. Your Mount Rushmore of bands. We need to know this. Don't disappoint my dad by not saying Leonard Skinner.
Oh man, you got me on the spot here. Like all time,
I hate these type of questions. By the way, I hate them. Like people ask them all the time on stream or here, and I'm like, do you know how much thought I have to put into that? It's crazy.
It's way too much.
Yeah.
If I want to go like classic, I know Timo's gonna hate when I say AC/DC because he fucking despises AC/DC. I'll just do an all four. Biggest influences, especially because when I play hockey, I have my pump up music. One would be Royal Blood. I just love like the tone and the
solid choice.
The sound. Yeah, it's absolutely great. Boy, I'm just polishing off my coffee. Jesus. I also love another band. I saw these on tour. They opened for Nothing But Thieves. D-Mob Happy. I met the guys. I met the guys at the band, and they were just super chill. Why do I have hot sauce here? There we go. Okay. Oh yeah, just it's a more chaotic energy going to be happening in here, guys. Just heads up. As like I said before, Royal Blood, D-Mob Happy, like basically kind of like the similar sound, but more like I want to say like wavy in a way, like slower but wavy. That makes sense.
Just sit back and so basically, if you were editing a video, would that be good background track to it?
Some of their songs, yes.
All right, there you
go. Definitely.
Never heard of it.
It's good like driving music. Just put it on and just drive, like top down, tops off, top down, just driving going. Sunday drive.
Option number 3.
I'm gonna go with Jeez, it's so hard when you're on the spot with stuff like this.
Come back next week for his other 2.
Oh my god, I'm gonna look through my Spotify playlist like right now.
That is the same thing that I do every time someone asks a music-related question. I'm like, okay, let's see who, in terms of my one massive playlist, because I'm very, very basic. Who do I have the most songs from? That's how I go off of it. And yeah, I mean the top 2 always end up being like Billy Talent and Ghost, but hey,
there you go.
Same thing.
Queens of the Stone Age, definitely right there, up top, right up there. And obviously, I can't do this without. If you guys have seen the Medium Elite launch video where I put Foo Fighters in there, like making a fire, definitely my top 4 right there. So Royal Blood, D-Mob Happy, Queens of the Stone Age, and Foo Fighters.
Damn good choices, if I do say so myself. With that, we'll thank you all again for your viewer questions. We'll get more in. Obviously, we do have a lot to talk about today. Again, it is our Atlantic Division breakdown here, so a lot to get to. We do have a couple other topics to get to, but again, a friendly reminder in terms of viewer questions. Same thing as always. I put out a post on Twitter, and there is, of course, always the Discord, the podcast questions section there. So, hey, again, plenty of time to ask Endo whatever the hell you want to ask him about. This is the start of something new. So, hey, you know, it's weird. Ground floor, not ground floor. It is what it is. You'll be able to ask him all the questions that you want. As mentioned, we do have a couple of other things to talk about. Kind of a mix of positive and negative before we get into that division breakdown. But I mean, hey, that's the world of hockey that we live in right now. And I guess a negative topic right out of the start. I saw this today, actually, for the first time. Just wanted to say best wishes to Peter McNabb. Comes from a long-time hockey family. He was a member of the Bruins from like 76 to 84. So, I grew up hearing about how good of a player, how underrated of a player Peter McNabb was. And for Colorado Avalanche fans especially, he has been the color commentator for that team since the very beginning. In the 95-96 season, he was diagnosed with cancer at 69 years old, which is always a little bit scary. But our best wishes to Peter McNabb. And to offset that, as we always do, you got to take the negative, but add in a bit of positive. I mentioned on the last show when I was joined by Alex. Again, if you missed that, make sure to go check out that show. That was our Central Division preview. I had a lot of fun with that one. Mentioned briefly in that episode that the WHL was getting its first ever female lines crew members. And Darren Dreger mentioned on Insider Trading a few days ago that the AHL is looking at introducing female officials as well. So, as much as on this show it's been talked about the evolution of the women's game and just really, the continued evolution is the best way to talk about it. You look at from the women's game as it stands, and every time, say, the U.S. and Canada play, shout out to Marie-Philippe Poulin for still just ruining my day not all that long ago. We talked about Taya Curry getting drafted. These are stories we're going to continue to cover because, again, I think while we all would have hoped like the women's game in general would be further along than it is right now, I do think we're looking and we're looking at and living in a very special time right now that we're going to be able to look back on and say, oh yeah, hey, we actually saw that happen and the active change happened in front of our eyes. Mm-hmm. Endo, this next talking point here, though, these are ones that we can really kind of sink our teeth into at this stage. Next talking point I want to get to. It's not officially, but Quinn Hughes and Elias Pedersen. Ooh. The deals are apparently very, very, very close to being done. The rumor is Quinn Hughes at 6 years, $7.75 million. That comes from, I believe it's Satyar Shah of Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver. Again, apologies if there's any mispronunciation there. That deal on its own, 6 years under $8 million for Quinn Hughes. I view that as a straight up steal. What about you?
I think it's the same thing as well. A guy with that kind of quality, and he's still getting better. He's still young. I definitely, for that amount of money with that amount of contract, they're definitely locking him in long term. Saying he's like definitely a cornerstone of that franchise from here on out. I think that's definitely a steal.
It's crazy how the market went from here's what Cale Makar's getting, and then obviously someone a bit older like Dougie Hamilton, here's what he's getting, and now instead it's, Quinn Hughes is actually getting signed to a pretty good deal. And I believe it was Rick Dhaliwal as well mentioning that the Pedersen deal could be 3 years at about $7.7 million. So again, under $8 million for Pedersen, as well as Jim Benning is somehow making this work. And I think that's kind of the talking point that we all had was he got the other deals done. Gets right. OEL, gets Garland, gets Jason Dickinson from Dallas. And then his strategy is just to say to these agents of these RFAs, well, this is what I got left, take it or leave it. And it looks like it's going to work, which is insane to me. Now, obviously for Pedersen, you're just kicking the can down the road a little bit. And if he continues to be what it looks like he could be, that under $8 million is going to over 10, and you're going to have some problems at that point. But hey, that's down the road's problem. I'm shocked if this actually works out the way that it looks like it might, with Vancouver actually getting these two signed.
It's kind of like a shot in the dark, really. If it pays out now, because they're still developing, they're trying to get better, be competitive. Yeah. Because it's a very weird Pacific division because they're in the Pacific still, I believe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, the only change, of course, was Arizona going over to the Central. So
right. That's
which is still very weird. We talked about the Central Division in the last show, and it's still very, very weird.
Yeah, it's gonna take a while for me to get used to it's such a small change, but it just messes with your mind a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to sum it up. Is like, oh yeah, there's gonna be a lot of oh yeah moments throughout the season. Like, oh, huh, kind of forgot about that. The other talking points that we have here, right? There's one that's just more. We don't know what's necessarily going to happen, but it was something that I was asked to talk about here. And again, another apology preemptively in case of a mispronunciation. And of course, like I said too, with Vancouver, we'll talk about it more once those deals are officially set. We still have our Pacific Division preview. That's actually scheduled for next Friday. Good old Sin for the win. We'll be back to talk about the Sharks and so much more. That might be a sad episode to have Sin back talking about the Sharks. But hey, Erik Karlsson got a haircut, and surprise, surprise, he's still incredibly handsome. Who would have thought?
Oh no, he's hot.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Oh no, he's hot.
This comes from Andrew Zadanowski, I believe it is, of TSN 690. He mentioned this on Twitter. I'll read this verbatim. A bill was submitted to the Russian parliament that would require young athletes to pay compensation to the team that developed them if the athlete wants to go play with a foreign team. This would impact draft picks who want to cross over to the NHL. At first glance, I viewed this as, could be a good thing, say, for the KHL. Maybe they hold on to some of their young talent, not as if they've had a problem with that. Kaprizov stayed until he was 23, 24.
Mm-hmm.
But the flip side of this that I saw in response is, would this not mean that more likely top Russian prospects, these kids at 13, 14 years old would say, I'm out of here, and they go over to the Ontario Hockey League or the U.S. developmental program? I feel like this is the type of move, I don't know if this would ever even have a shot of being approved, but just the idea of course it had to be Russia, but just the idea of trying to lock down these top prospects almost exclusively and say, if you want them, you got to pay a bit more. That doesn't seem like a move that was really all that well thought out, because I really feel like that would backfire. And that's not the only bit of news in regards to certain policies backfiring on potential leagues that we're going to quickly talk about here very soon. But I mean, and the reason why I wanted to bring this up, and one thing, of course, that people will learn about you as we continue on with this show, is, you have some Russian ties, we'll say, in your life. So you have a decent understanding at this point of how a lot of things work over there. From your perspective, how do you see this going? Because I certainly side with the idea of, if this were to somehow pass, it would completely backfire, and a lot of top Russian prospects would just be over in North America a lot sooner.
Yeah, that's a fair point. The one thing that I noticed there is that requiring the athletes to pay compensation to the team. That's the one thing I'm kind of that's going to force a lot of people to either leave very, very early, uproot all the way from say 8, 9, 10 years old, right when they start getting in those programs, to come over to Canada or wherever they want to go to play the sport. I think it could be good, it could be bad. It just really does seem like you're kind of holding them hostage in a certain way, because I think the whole process of developing through the minors, was it the VHL and all that, and developing through the club system and going up and getting drafted to the KHL. I feel like it's they're trying to keep it the way it is, old fashioned, or kind of keep it the way it is there and not have a lot of change. I think it could be good to keeping them there, but at the same time, you gotta let people do what they want to do. Yeah. If someone feels like they're gonna develop better playing overseas, you should let them do that. Like what Austin Matthews did over in the U.S. He saw he wasn't getting enough time over here, flew over, developed over there in the state, not the States, over in Europe. Yeah, and then became a top prospect, and he's our guy on the Leafs. Now, I'm going to say something real quick about the Leafs. Just because I like the Leafs doesn't mean I'm a Leafs homer. I know for a fact if they don't get it through this year, I swear to God,
We will
there's
have
going to be a riot down my. I live downtown. There's going to be a goddamn riot down there.
we will have plenty of time to talk about Toronto in this podcast. Thankfully, I'm very pumped for that. The two other things. Look, it's the ongoing situation in the aftermath of what happened in the Ukrainian League with Jalen Semerick. Here's what I'll say about this. I think, as we all probably know at this point, the player in question, Andrei Deniskin, was issued a 13-game suspension, which, I mean, it's low. Anthony Duclair's spoken out, JT Brown, Jake Chikrin. I think that's the main issue that people have. The fine that comes out to about $188 per game, that does seem incredibly low, but at the end of the day, you got to factor in, like, hey, this isn't an NHL player, the CBA with that league. Like, the fine, I view as being what it is, based off of what's there. You also had the GM of the league, the UHL, claiming that he was fired for speaking out. We'll take that with a grain of salt. And then you have certain agents saying, hey, there's no way I'd let one of my clients play over there. What I take away from this situation is this, Endo. I don't view this as, if you suspend this guy or ban him for life, the problem of racism goes away in hockey, in the Ukrainian Hockey League, in the Ukraine, in this country in general. But the idea is certain agents, certain players are going to look at how this league responds to this incident, and then that is very much going to affect the league down the road, and that is its own form of positive change. Is if these leagues show, hey, something like this happens, and hey, call it what you will from the perspective that you will, but if it is perceived by the majority of people, by the players themselves, that not enough was done by this league, it is going to affect that league down the road in terms of who is going to be willing to play there. That problem might not necessarily go away, but at the end of the day, I think we've all kind of learned that for any business, any company, you affect their bottom line, and all of a sudden, boy, can those opinions and stances and disciplinary actions and the extent of them change pretty fast. So there's a lot to this entire situation. I don't know how you read into it, but the floor is yours unless you want to move on to our next talking point here.
I'll just touch on it a little bit because I think it's a ridiculous scenario that's happening right now, and I feel like there isn't going to be enough damage control they could do on this whole entire situation now because it's gotten so out of control with the alleged firing of the GM for speaking up against basically against like giving him a basically slap on the wrist. Now, another situation I want to compare it to is last year in the AHL, Ontario Reign forward at the time, Boko Omama someone used a slur on him. I think it was player Brandon Manning when he was on the Condors, used a slur on him, and he only got a slap on the wrist. 5 games using a slur. Now, I want to compare the two, and it's kind of weird to compare the two because one's like a slur, then one's an actual action. I just think like if giving someone three games and 10 games with the option of possibly buying it out is like a slap on the wrist. And what happened last year when this happened was 5. Did people only care whether it was an action showing something, or was it just because of the word? Like it makes me think really that a lot of this stuff is like, not say virtue signaling, but it just seems like they're just speaking out and saying what at the moment of outrage and waiting till everything piles up for stuff to happen. And I feel like, and I hate that people are gonna have to be using examples for certain things, but enough's enough. I think this stuff has to stop, and I'm not sure what it's gonna take for it to stop. Maybe a bigger fine or the IIHF basically saying, yeah, you're done. Like you just can't deal with this. I think the other thing too was that the Ukrainian player, who was an alternate captain, I believe, of the team. So this is who you choose to represent your franchise with. This is your player you choose to have as like, this is our leader. How can you have someone with that status use such a offensive thing towards a person of color, or just in general? It's still like boggles my mind.
So, again, as mentioned, we try to balance the positive and the negative on this particular show because at the end of the day, man, hockey stories are hockey stories. And again, you could argue, well, how much of a... Not how much of a hockey story is it? It's absolutely a hockey story.
Yeah.
We'll bring a little bit of levity here, though, to the show before getting into our division breakdown. But, of course, a lot of those talking points, what's going on in the world of hockey right now. That's what we like to talk about here. This one, though, it's one of the things that we maybe don't get into enough, and I'm looking forward to this. In terms of talking about the video game side of things, now, I will say flat out that I am probably touching up upon this so we can use this as an excerpt from the show to put on my main channel so I can just be like, hey, see, I talked about it. But EA NHL, NHL 22 is a week or two away at this point from dropping. I think the EA Play trial comes out in a week. We are very, very close to the launch of the new game. And of course, as is the case, they are releasing the ratings for the top players. They started off with goaltenders. And that is what we'll touch up upon now, right?
Oh,
I want to talk about...
You.
I want to talk about the top 10 as it is, right? Number 1 on the list was Andrei Vasilevsky. I don't disagree.
No doubter, right there. Completely no doubt. He's your guy. You have him in any sort of game. You put like a bad team in front of him, he's got you. Like completely. It's chef's kiss.
Second on the list, Connor Hellebuck. I do not disagree.
You know what? No, he's definitely on that list for sure. He's definitely the number 2. I know this next one, you're definitely gonna be like, yeah, no.
Number 3, with a tie for third place with a 90 overall rating. Vasi's a 92, Hellebuck's a 91. Carrie Price and Marc-Andre Fleury at 3 and 4, both with 90 ratings. Matter of fact, Tuukka Rask is at number 5 with a 90 rating as well. We'll start off with Carrie Price. People should very much expect that, hey, when I get to the roster editing stuff like I do, Carrie Price won't be a 90 overall. But I feel like I'm more justified than ever in that decision, in that, of course, for those who do not know, the video game has added things called X Factors, which are either a minor boost or relatively major boost to a certain aspect of a player's game within the game. So I feel like there's a perfect way to have now Carrie Price be closer to a mid-80s player, but then give him those abilities that he can turn it on and stand on his head like we saw in the playoffs. There is, I feel like, an accurate way to represent playoff Price at this stage. If you want to argue he's still a top 10 goalie, sure. But when it comes down to, okay, there's arbitrary numbers, a rating that's assigned, it's a little bit tough to sit there and say Carrie Price at 3, alongside the reigning Vezina Trophy winner in Marc-Andre Fleury. And Tuukka Rask at 5. Tuukka's still fantastic. The controversy of this comes as right now he is a free agent, although it is expected he'll sign with the Bruins around January or February once he's healthy. But yeah, there are some ratings we'll talk about too in a second that have finally dropped. Carrie Price's rating has not dropped, and I'm not surprised given what has what happened in the aftermath of a Stanley Cup run, a finals run at least for the Habs this past summer.
Right. Oh, I agree completely. Like if there was no playoffs at all for him, I would definitely see them dropping his overall down a little bit. But I feel like the fact that he basically turned on the Jets and just helped carry that team, literally carry, to the basically a Stanley Cup run, and I think that's why he's up there and why he's at number 3. I personally wouldn't put him at number 3, maybe give him an 89, but I see why EA would probably do that.
You also have John Gibson at 6 with an 89 rating. I'd argue a little bit too high, but the debate with John Gibson is, has his numbers dropped because he's on a bad team, or has his numbers dropped in general? Jake Markstrom had an 88, number 7 on the list. Again, I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
Grubauer at 8 with an 87 rating. He's one of the 3 that we know of because he at 8, Varlamov at 9, and Robin Lehner at 10 all have 87s. It makes you wonder where Darcy Kemper is. It makes you especially wonder where UC Saros is.
Yeah, Short King UC Saros. That's my guy.
So, I don't know. The goalie ratings, I don't know if there's anything horrifically offensive to a nerd like myself that really likes to try to make the game as realistic as possible there. I have seen some worse offenses in the past when it comes to goalie ratings, but obviously some adjustments will be made on that list. Endo, any thoughts on the goalies before we move on to the defensive list?
I don't know. As a goalie myself, I'm looking at this, the numbers and everything, and my personal biases. I would have loved to see where Saros was if they reached the top 20. Because that way we can get a better range of who's the go-to guy you're gonna have this year for there. Because I want to see what they would do for Toronto with Jake Campbell and Peter Mrazek. Because that's a 2 goalie tandem right there. But so far right now it's good. It looks better than what it's been in previous years. Numbers looking a little bit more fine and a little more balanced per se. Yeah. Remember years before it would just be out of whack. You'd have Price had a 95 and he wouldn't make the playoffs or something like that, and it's ridiculous.
And then the list of top 10 defenders came out today before we started to record the show. Number 1 with a 92 is Victor Hedman. I can see why, certainly. Yeah. Part of a back-to-back Stanley Cup champion. You look at certain aspects of Victor Hedman, maybe not. I'll just say it's not surprising for him to be number 1 on the list.
Definitely. Yeah. I don't see why he wouldn't be, back-to-back Cup champ, 18 mil over the cap, but we won't talk about that.
You have Roman Josi at 2 with the 90 rating, John Carlson at 3 also with the 90 rating. I still buy the Josi hype. John Carlson, I'm not entirely sure. Not saying either are necessarily bad, but I don't know. Top 3 for John Carlson I saw was rubbing some people the wrong way. You have Alex Pietrangelo at 4 with an 89 rating. I can see that. And then you get into some interesting ones because Cale Makar and Dougie Hamilton are both at an 88, but so is Thomas Chabot. I like Thomas Chabot. Dougie Hamilton and Cale Makar, I would take over Thomas Chabot.
Right.
And then the most controversial part of this list, you get into 8, 9, and 10, all 87 rated. The reigning Norris winner, Adam Fox, Charlie McAvoy, and Zach Werenski. Yeah, I feel like it's the order of this that might be throwing people off just a little bit.
Oh, man.
Yeah, there's some hot takes in there. And one of the top comments I saw on Reddit in response to this was, thank God users can edit the ratings. So, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Seth Jones is also an 87, but they left him off the list to avoid controversy.
Give him 2 X Factors. Fuck it.
Oh, God. Superstar X Factor Seth Jones. We'll talk. We talked about him in the last show. So there it is. Hey, we'll continue to talk about those. The forward list should be out by the time our next podcast rolls around on Tuesday. But yeah, a decent amount to talk about between last show and this one. A couple of interesting talking points that, hey, we might end up getting to go in depth with a little bit later on down the road. But we have the meat and potatoes of this episode to get to here, Endo. And I hope you're prepared. Again, you had to prepare as a guest, but now it's 50-50, buddy. You got to pull your own weight in terms of pissing people off with some potential hot takes. It is the Atlantic Division breakdown. We are going to go team by team and, just kind of mention, hey, where might these particular teams finish in the standings? Are you ready to go?
No. But let's do it anyway. We're doing it live.
Fantastic. So let's start off with the team that I think could very well finish in dead last in this Atlantic Division. And here is my first hot take of this breakdown, baby. I have the Ottawa Senators at the bottom of this division.
Really?
I have Ottawa at the bottom of this division.
Over the what is it? The literal trash fire that is the Buffalo Sabres, to quote your commentator over there with the Bruins.
Yes, sir. So allow me to explain, because I feel like there is some explanation to be had here. In terms of talking about Ottawa, I do want to talk about the offseason that they had. In terms of trades, it was really highlighted by the fact that they sent Evgeny Dadonov to Vegas for Nick Holden and a third-round pick. Pretty good deal. And recently, within the past week, they acquired Zach Sanford from St. Louis for Logan Brown and a conditional fourth this year that's based on whether or not Brown plays 30 games for the Blues. In terms of other changes with the team, additions, you're looking at a lot of depth. Michael Del Zotto, Andrew Agozzino, Pontus Aberg, Leafs legend, as well as Scott Sabourin, another Leafs legend.
He's going back. He went back.
Yeah, he went back. There's not a ton of additions. Departure-wise, Joey Decord, they lost to Seattle. Right. Mentioned the Dadonov trade. Ryan Dzingel went to Arizona. Derek Stepan to Carolina. I mean, for the most part, the status quo with the team stayed the same. But I want to look at their offense first. And the big question right now is what happens with Brady Tkachuk, right? He is, if you presume that both Pedersen and Hughes have signed, then Brady Tkachuk is the last holdout. And knowing this podcast curse that exists by the time you're listening to this show, he would have signed, and that's going to be great. But I look at this team, and I say they were pesky last year. I mean, you got to see a lot of them, of course, with the North Division being what it was.
Yeah.
I like Josh Norris and Drake Batherson. I think guys like Formenton and Stützle will be better than they were last year. You notice the theme of younger players so far. I don't mind the Zach Sanford pickup for what he provides. Speaking of the Leafs connection, Connor Brown, I think will do better with a better supporting cast around him. But from there, it's nothing but question marks. You have unproven young forward and Shane Pinto. Then Colin White, Nick Paul, Austin Watson, Chris Tierney, and probably maybe Andrew Agozzino until Brady Tkachuk signs. Like, they're simply not there yet. Like, I view them as having probably like a 6 out of 8 in terms of the offense in the division. So they don't have the worst offense in the league, but man, there's some question marks there. And even then, Brady Tkachuk, like, obviously he's got to be a cornerstone player of that team, but he has question marks surrounding him as well moving forward.
Yeah. Oh boy, that now that I look at the actual like roster breakdown, what they have over at Ottawa, like they have Matt Murray, but then again, Matt Murray is kind of streaky. He's getting way overpaid for that contract because he needed they gave him that money because he needed to hit the cap room floor. Yep. And now they're in a situation where they won't pay Brady Tkachuk, even though they have all that cap space to give him the money that he basically deserves. Mm-hmm. It just seems like Melnick's just holding out for some reason. I don't know what it is. Is he just not? Like, is it not spending money? Is it because people aren't going to go to games, so you can't spend that money anymore because of COVID and everything?
It's the Jim betting method of here's what we got for you, take it or leave it. It's like, well, actually, Jim, you have like $30 million. So we got what we got for you. Take it or leave it.
Don't look at the money on the table. It's not yours. Don't worry about it.
Cap friendly is fake news. Take the $5 million, Brady.
Take the 5. Just like a medallion, just like in the meeting, just like trying to like hypnotize him. Take the 5.
You're not worth 7.5.
Or 6 on a good day. Take the 5.
Oh, God. Defensively, this team. Again, I have towards the bottom half of the division, maybe like 6th out of the 8 teams. For these outlooks, like I look at Cap Friendly and I see who they have in the presumed lineup. So is it surprising right now that on Cap Friendly, Michael Del Zotto is listed as a depth option? No. I'd use him over at least one other defender that's going to be in that starting lineup, but we'll talk about him in a minute. But Victor Mete is right back, apparently, in the same spot he was in Montreal, because he's not listed right now in the presumed top 6 for Ottawa, which I would play him over my 2 biggest concerns on that blue line, who are Josh Brown and Nikita Zaitsev. It is understandable, here's the player I was referencing, why Nikita Zaitsev is still in that lineup, because he gets paid the earth and the moon until the end of time. Mm-hmm. But you look at the rest of that defense, I trust Eric Brandstrom to keep getting better, even though there was all those talks about, like, does he fit in with the coaching staff and what they prefer. But Thomas Chabot's great. I really like Nick Holden and what he can provide in a lesser role. And even Artyom Zub was solid last year for them. It's not a horrific defense. It's just I'm confused by the lack of maybe Mete not being like a dead set top 6 guy. And, Nikita Zaitsev. But what a favorite. Can you imagine if Nikita Zaitsev was still on the Leafs?
Oh my God, that was a terrible move with Zaitsev. He was good for like the one season, and after that was just him and Ozaganov. Like, he's back in the KHL now, and I'm like, they have like their one like sign of brilliance. It's just like, perfect, you're doing good, sweetie, and then just fall off the cliff once they get that payroll coming.
Andreas Borgstrom as well. There's a lot of those guys that the Leafs tried out to see who would work, and then Marty Marinchin's still there though. Don't worry.
Oh boy, hey, he's the golden boy. He's the analytical genius, because he does nothing all game of significance, but he does exactly what the coach needs you to do. He's that key guy where you have him come in once for a game and you have him just sitting on the bench, like sitting in the stands in the press box, just so that way you can hit the cap. It's perfect.
And then the goaltending of Ottawa, I do have as the weakest in the division.
Oh, Lord.
This is where it falls apart. I mean, you mentioned Matt Murray already. He is not the player Ottawa was hoping he would be last year. And, there's a lot of players where you can argue, is that product of their environment, or are their numbers just bad? They do have Anton Forsberg, who put up a .909 save percentage in 8 games, which... They also have Philip Gustafson, who played 9 games but had a .933. Like, I don't know how that happened. The bottom line is, like, there's a lot of questions in goal for the Ottawa Senators, and that is what put them at the bottom of this list for me, because even Buffalo, who we will talk about very soon, they have questions in goal as well, but I don't know if I'm as concerned for their goaltending as I am for Ottawa, and I didn't think I'd be saying that about Matt Murray just a few years ago, but here we are.
Matt, no glove, no love Murray, basically. That glove hand is God. Is it just because he was a product of Pittsburgh and their goaltending situation? Because that's another story for another day. But just, oh my God. I could go on and on about goaltending coaches and everything, and how having one just for a glove hand means the difference.
So for Ottawa, I have them at last. I presume you have them around 6th or 7th?
Yeah, I was going to put like something along the lines of Buffalo, because that's just not good. But I do see like where you would put Ottawa there, and yeah,
it's a hot take that's going to piss people off. Like I'm aware.
Oh yeah,
of this.
I can see the comments coming in right now.
I will say I am not doing it intentionally for the sole purpose of aggravating people. It's just I have concerns about that roster. I have concerns about the Buffalo Sabres, who I have in 7th, potentially narrowly finishing above them in the standings. When talking about the Sabres in this offseason, God, that sounds worse than I would have thought.
Do we save Eichel till the end, or do we do it right at the beginning? Rip the Band-Aid off now, or pry it a little bit?
Let's hold off a second here. Why not?
Okay.
They traded Rasmus Dahlin into the Flyers for Robert Haig, a first that became Isaac Rosen, and a second in 2023. They traded Sam Reinhart to the Florida Panthers for goaltender Devin Levi, Canadian hero. and a first-round pick in 2022. And they also picked up Will Butcher and a fifth-round pick from New Jersey for absolutely nothing, also known as future considerations. There were a lot of future consideration trades, like way more than normal in the NHL this past offseason. I feel like that's because Seattle dropped the ball on their expansion. Aside from that, the Sabres also signed forward Vinny Hinostroza, defenseman Mark Pysyk, both of their goaltenders, who we'll talk about in a minute. And in terms of other players leaving, no other. I mean, they lost Jake McCabe, they lost Riley Sheahan, Toby Reeder, I believe, is on a PTO with the Ducks. So they had some losses, but we'll go to their offense first. I don't have it as the worst offense in the division, shockingly. I know, without Jack Eichel. And that's obviously where this starts with the Sabres, is Jack Eichel. It is. Yeah. I put originally in my notes, it's a very unpretty picture without Jack Eichel. It's a dumpster fire without Jack Eichel. But I look at the team. I don't hate what guys like Jeff Skinner. I know what I just said. I don't hate what guys like Jeff Skinner, Anders Bjork, and Rasmus Asplund can provide. The key word there is can. We don't know what version of Jeff Skinner will show up. Anders Bjork and Rasmus Asplund, still younger guys. Maybe they can step into a bigger role. Who knows? They do have Victor Olofsson, another guy that can, get the results, even if some metrics aren't on his side. Lord knows he needs to have a great season to stop this team, I'd say, from being historically bad. But they always talk about, Endo, on bad teams, someone has to score.
Yeah.
I can't imagine Jeff Skinner and Victor Olofsson not putting up points this year, because who the hell else is going to? Because outside of those two, it's like you have Drake Caggiula in the decent category. Dylan Cousins and Casey Middlestat are still young and hopefully haven't had their development ruined. It hasn't been pretty so far yet, though. Yeah. And then you have Kyle Okposo, Vinny Hinostroza, Zemgus Girgensons, Cody Eakin, and Tage Thompson, which is the biggest yikes in the world. I feel like Jeff Skinner and Victor Olofsson can have incredible seasons out of pure desperation to say, get me the hell out of here. Look at the points I'm putting up. Somebody please trade for me.
Oh, my God.
It's close, right? Like, for Buffalo, question marks. For Ottawa, there's question marks. I look back at, say, what someone like Jeff Skinner and Olofsson have proven they can do versus, like, the completely unprovens on Ottawa. It's not great, regardless of how you look at it. And honestly, Jack Eichel wouldn't help. I can't imagine I'd put Jack Eichel or a Jack Eichel-led Sabres offense. It wouldn't bump this team up in the standings for me at all.
No. I mean, you even have even a healthy Jack Eichel right now with he's almost a point per game, but at the same time, you have no support. He's not a guy who can make guys better around him. He's the kind of guy who just drives it on his own. He does have more assists and goals, but at the same time, I don't think he's that guy who can be I know there was a big comparison at the time it was McDavid or Eichel, but McDavid's an all-around guy. He makes that team better. You sit right in front, he can feed it to you, but Eichel kind of just drives it on his own in a way too. So it's
I would have faith that Connor McDavid could lead Buffalo closer to a playoff spot than Jack Eichel could. And I don't think that's a controversial take.
Not at all.
Because we saw Connor basically do that with Edmonton's rosters before Draisaitl kind of turned into what Draisaitl is now, and certain other developments happen with that team.
Right.
So yeah, I agree with you on that. The defense isn't fantastic. Bottom line, I have Buffalo. Shockingly, they're not rated dead last in terms of offense, defense, or goaltending for me in this division. I have them at 7th out of the 8 teams in every category. Mm-hmm. And I have them 7th out of 8 on defense because you have Rasmus Dahlin, fresh off of a new deal. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys where I don't know if you can say he's truly elite yet, but there is the aspect of people saying, well, he is, but it's because he's trying to perform to that level on a dumpster fire of a team. Regardless, I think everyone knows that he was a worthy first overall pick. He's a fantastic player.
Right.
I like the Mark Pysyk pickup. That's not a major game changer, but I like what he can provide in the role that he's played in before. And aside from that, it's a bunch of okay to meh. You have Yoki Haru and Bryson, who are still relatively young, and who knows for sure what they can provide. And then you have guys like Colin Miller and Will Butcher, who used to be performing at a very high level, and maybe they get back there. They have Robert Haig at depth, which doesn't provide much. But, again, I look at this team, and I can see some bright spots, and I think that's obviously a part of the just the disappointment in Buffalo is there's something there if you could just put the pieces together. But the problem is you flip the table and there are pieces everywhere. There's pieces under the vents. There's pieces under the couch. Somehow a piece ended up down the hallway, tucked underneath the mattress. Like, I don't know how this happened. It's magical that it's so screwed up, but there's some bright spots there. It's frustrating for a non-Sabres fan, let alone the fact that I have friends who are Sabres fans and I have to watch their misery, which I genuinely don't enjoy. It's not fun anymore.
Oh man, it's and I look at their goaltending situation. Like I'm looking at Cap Friendly too as well, and they have Aaron Dell and then they have Craig Anderson listed for some reason over UPL. Like.
I don't think you can rush Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen into this situation.
They're going to have to.
So this was my point, right? If someone wants to say Ottawa has better goaltending than this, that's fine. I look at what Aaron Dell and Craig Anderson can do as veterans. They're both getting paid league men. They played a combined 11 games in the regular season last year. It's a recipe for disaster. But I look at what they might be able to do. Like, I don't know. Maybe I would put Ottawa ahead of Buffalo at least. Maybe that was too much of a hot take. But I have no confidence in either goaltending situation. But Matt Murray, two unproven young goaltenders, Aaron Dell, Craig Anderson. Craig Anderson looked okay against the Bruins at times in the playoffs. Yeah. But these poor guys, just to hang around in the league, they are going to get absolutely demolished night in and night out. And it's very unfortunate.
They're going to get pumped for league men. Are you kidding me? They
took league men to play for that team.
God, that's literally love of the game or just love of the money. I don't know. I mean, like league men is still a lot of money.
Let's see. If I search $750,000 car,
get like 3 Rolls Royces. You're good.
Let's see. Auto Trader, best cars, 10 dream cars over $100K. I mean, hey, there are some Aston Martins you could buy for that amount of money once, your agent gets a cut and all that stuff. Would I play behind the Buffalo Sabres for an Aston Martin? I'd have to think about it, but I could see why somebody would do that. Oh, my God. So Buffalo, 7th at best, 8th is probably more secure. Sorry, Sens fans, but... God damn it. Man. I'm just, you can't tell me you have more confidence in Matt Murray than you would in Aaron Dell or Craig Anderson. You cannot tell me that. You can't.
Sorry, Architect.
I'm sorry. Architect. Number 6 on my list. I don't think this one's particularly a hot take. I have the Detroit Red Wings finishing 6th in this division.
Oh, they're strong. They're not gonna be like, oh, we're here, but it's like we're coming. We're working our way up. We're getting there.
So for me, the only reason why they're in 6th is because of their goaltending. Because I have this offense and this defense as potentially the worst in the division.
Yeah. Oh boy. Oh man.
Let's talk about their moves then. Their moves. In terms of any notable trades, well, boy, doesn't Steve Yzerman like to trade. He acquired, remember this on July 16th? It feels like it was 6 years ago. They acquired Nick Leddy in exchange for Richard Panik and a second-round pick that became Atu Ratu, which, again, I think that deal could really come back to haunt Detroit. The Islanders might have gotten a big steal there. They then acquired Alex Nedeljkovic for Jonathan Bernier and a third.
Oh my
I
god.
still can't believe that trade is real.
You know what the best the best thing about that was? Thrash 94 Gaming with his little Smooth Criminal remix. You've been fist by Steve Asserman. Ow! It just kept going. That was the
Incredible.
greatest thing I've seen. Oh,
I
man.
forgot all about that. My God. They also traded up. I got no way to top that, so I'm just going to steamroll through. They also traded up to get Sebastian Cossa in goal because you can never have enough good goaltenders, apparently. A couple of the trades during the draft, and then the last thing they did on July 30th was pick up Mitch Stevens from Tampa for a 6th. In terms of any other incoming players, I mean, Pia Suter from Chicago, probably the biggest standout. Jordan Esterle from Arizona. Carter Rowney from Anaheim, not bad. Departures. Dennis Cholowski, of course, taken by the Seattle Kraken. They lost Luke Glendening. Dylan McElrath to Washington, who managed to get suspended in the preseason, which is
beautiful.
Round of applause for Dylan McElrath.
Is it his first game with the team, too?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, wow. Shades of David Clarkson. Let's go, buddy.
That's the Clarkson suspension. Is he the first player to get... Well, no, I mean, he's not the only player to get suspended, but his first game with the team getting suspended. I think Ridley Grieg did it as well for Ottawa, but I like that, the Clarkson suspension. Detroit also lost Darren Helm to Colorado. They bought out Franz Nielsen, and Valtteri Filppula moved on as well. So did Evgeny Svechnikov. He's in the AHL, I believe, right now with the Manitoba Moose.
Mr. Svechnikov.
the lesser Svechnikov. It's like,
the lesser Svechnikov.
It's Mr. Svechnikov. There's just nothing to it. I had Detroit with the worst offense in the league, primarily off of the big news of yesterday, which was the injury to Jakub Vrana. A shoulder injury will take him out for 4 months, which is a gigantic hit. He is a top 3 forward on this team, minimum, if not arguably one of the top 2. On top of that, there's questions surrounding Tyler Bertuzzi. We know due to his personal choices that he'll miss the games that Detroit plays in Canada. And that's after just playing 9 games last year, I believe, due to injury. He did put up 7 points in those 9 games, but still, there's questions surrounding him. But you still have Dylan Larkin, who's very good. Pia Suter as well. Very good. I like that pickup for them a lot, even though it's only 1 season to go off of where he played in Chicago. But from there, man, I'm not sold. Like, Robbie Fabry is fine. Sam Gagner, Carter Rowney, Adam Ernie, serviceable.
Oh, man.
And then you have Nemesnikov that needs a major bounce back. That guy's stock has plummeted over the past few years. Yeah. And then you have younger guys like Zadina, Rasmussen, Veleno, and now Mitch Stevens, who, I won't say are completely unproven, but there are question marks. I mean, Zadina's still 21. Veleno's still a young guy. There's just too many question marks surrounding this team for me to rank them any higher than last in terms of offense, especially after that Vrana injury. That's just a killer.
Yeah, 100%.
Their defense. I was gonna say, I know there's not too much else to add there in terms of Detroit, right? It's just like, that's a rough situation.
Detroit.
But like you said, I mentioned those younger guys. They're on the up and up, but Wings fans, I think especially after yesterday, they're like, okay, it's gonna be another one of these years. Because this defense, and I'm sorry to Thrash, who of course one of the Wings fans that we know and love. I can't rate this defense highly either. Like full stop. I like Troy Stetcher. I think Moritz Seider will do well. It looks like he'll make the team. That leaves like Nick Leddy and Philip Ronick, who I have gigantic question marks surrounding those two. And then you have Danny DeKeyser and Mark Stahl. And maybe Jordan Osterley as a 6-7 option. That is a gigantic yikes for me. I am sorry. Like, on paper, like I said, man, I look at Buffalo, and for the sole reason of they have Rasmus Dahlin, I rate Buffalo's defense higher than Detroit's.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know, man. It's putting me to sleep. It's just not looking that great. like you said, God, I'm just looking at like more of like the stat wise like now, and it's just I don't know. A lot of guys on here aren't really playing to their worth, I guess. And a lot of guys just kind of maybe in like the end tail of their career, and some guys you're weird because you're stuck with like guys who are like super young and guys who are like getting like just kind of like bottoming off of their like peak and everything.
It's a good mix to have, like a veteran like Mark Stahl in that locker room that's solid, but in terms of what he provides on ice, that's where you get into a little bit of trouble.
Exactly.
But I mentioned that their goaltending saves it. And I don't know. I ranked them in the top half, maybe even as high as third in terms of goaltending in this division, in terms of how safe I feel about it. And that is because I am all aboard the Alex Nedeljkovic hype train. I think Carolina made a gigantic mistake in not staying loyal to him. I do have concerns about Thomas Greiss as a backup. Both of these guys, the argument, chicken or the egg, are they a product of the team in front of them? I don't know. But I'm all aboard that Nedeljkovic hype train. But as you can tell, that's not enough to get Detroit into playoff conversation. Like, there is a drastic difference between the top 5 of this division and the bottom 3 that we've already talked about. Like, a drastic difference.
Yeah, 100%.
So I imagine
it's a weird Atlantic this year, because you got teams that are like, we're gonna like literally like fight each other, grab each other by the neck, and like scrap for a playoff spot. And then you have other ones that are just kind of like, yeah, we're here too, I guess. Like, don't forget about us. Like, in a year, as I'm gonna steal a Toronto Raptors quote with Raptors legend Bruno Caboclo. We're 2 years away from being 2 years away. And I don't know how much longer teams are going to be saying that, because it's just going to prolong it.
I can't wait until I'm older so I can beat up my big brother. Like, that's what it is.
That's what it is.
It's awful.
It's not fun.
No. But it will be in the future, maybe. For Detroit especially. I mean, come on. They got Steve Yzerman at the helm. For the top 5, then. I don't know if we're going to agree on this either, in terms of where I have these guys ranked. I have the Florida Panthers at 5. Could still very well be in a playoff spot. And I think we'll talk about that when we get to the Metro next week. Just how likely it is that the Atlantic could see 5 playoff spots. But I have the Panthers at 5.
Oh.
A little bit low.
Yeah, a little low.
I will explain as to why.
Please do.
In terms of their moves, obviously, like, you date back to April, like, they picked up Montour, they picked up Sam Bennett. The offseason moves, though, Sam Reinhart, that deal we already talked about, and they also sent Anton Strawman's cap hit, as well as defensive prospect Vladislav Kalachnikov and a second-round pick, that's one of the best names to say in the NHL, to Arizona to free up cap space. In terms of players joining the team outside of Reinhart, the only real notable guy is Leafs legend Joe Thornton.
Jumbo Joe, baby, let's go, Jumbo Joe. You did good. You were the heart of the team and like everyone's dad. Chilling with Justin Bieber, that was really weird. That was super weird. Like, full stop. That was
Joe
like,
Thornton could be Justin Bieber's dad.
That'd be one hell of a story.
It would be. In terms of departures here, though, it's interesting for the Panthers. They bought out Keith Yandel. They lost Chris Drieger to the Seattle Kraken. That is a major, major loss that we'll talk about.
Oh, yeah.
They lost Alex Wenberg to the Seattle Kraken as well. You're also looking, I'd say primarily that's the, that's right. And then, of course, someone like Nikita Gusev, who is currently on a PTO with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So not a major amount coming in, but a decent amount leaving. I look at the Panthers, though, and I say that they have arguably a top 2 offense in this division. It's top 3 at the worst when you factor in, obviously, Toronto and Tampa. But I like looking at the overall depth. And they have Barkov, Huberdeau. Carter Verhaeghe, I'm starting to put into that. He's in a legitimate top 6 option. He is. And then they added Sam Reinhart. You can certainly do worse than that top 4. I still like Anthony Duclair. I still like Jumbo in the right role. Vachano and Achari are solid in their roles. We've seen perhaps that Sam Bennett and Patrick Hornqvist still have more to offer than we might have thought heading into last season. And then they have younger guys like Owen Tippett and Eetu Luotstarainen filling out the lineup. That's a good sign. Mm-hmm. Or if you want more grit, you got like Lomberg and Marchment who play a different style as well. Another Leafs legend in Mason Marchment. It's Beautiful. A really goddamn good offense. It just depends on how you compare it to, like I said, Tampa and Toronto in terms of do you want to have them like second or third in terms of, I'd say, top offenses in the Atlantic.
Yeah, this one thing I'm seeing is a lot of when I was younger, there was a term that I made for like Leaf stuff, and it was a Leaf player may be good here, but he's probably a lot better somewhere else. And for a guy like Marchment to be like going around and using his level of skill in his role, possibly on a team like Florida, and who's basically gonna be fighting for possibly that like last cap space or whatever, not cap space. Sorry, excuse me, I'm running on fumes. That last like position. Was it? What's the word I'm looking for when you qualify as a seed? God,
I'm gonna let you flounder here. This is your first real test on the podcast.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! Someone might think you not know what you're talking about. Are you a phony, Endo? Are you a big phony?
I'm a big fat phony. Emphasis on phony, but mostly fat. God, what the? It's like it's on the tip of my tongue. Don't help me out. I swear to God, I got this. Hands up. Don't. Yep. Oh man. It's the thing where you're in the thing and you do the thing and you're not in there, you don't qualify directly, and it's like you're the bottom two teams from the division. Like wild card, there it is. Fuck yeah, let's go, baby.
He did it, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, let's go. Fuck.
He did
it. Okay, the wild card, like they're gonna fight it for a wild card position. You even said like the beginning of the section talking about Florida. How did I mess that up? Jesus.
It happens. Don't worry. Trust me. As it goes along, you're just like, I'm gonna screw up and say something. It is what it is. I will say really quickly though, breaking news on Twitter: the Quinn Hughes and Elias Pedersen deals are official for the Canucks. Hughes is at 6 by $7.85 million, so under $8 million for 6 years for Quinn Hughes. Pedersen $7.35 million for the next 3 years. Judging by the market, that's a steal for both players.
That is perfect.
So now we again wait to see what happens with Brady Tkachuk. The Panthers defense, I honestly don't have as much to say about this because, again, I have them as probably a top 3 defense in the league. A healthy Aaron Ekblad and Mackenzie Weegar are tremendous. There's no debate about that. I like Gustav Forsling and Radko Gudas. Marcus Nunivara is solid. You still might have some questions about Brandon Montour. It's a really damn good defense, though. And again, you could argue what might have happened in that Panthers Lightning series had Aaron Ekblad been healthy.
Oh, man. I almost forgot that he broke his leg? Jeez.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I remember watching that game like on TV. It was just, ooh. Oh, boy. Yeah. Like, if he's healthy and he's back to how it is, because when you get a leg injury like that, you're not 100%. You might say you're 100%, but you're not 100%. At least not for a month after you're on the ice and everything.
I think similar to the Tyler Seguin situation, right? Where it's just like, he's back, and it's like, he's not back yet. We'll see Tyler Seguin back next year.
Not as better than ever.
Yeah. So, a top 2, maybe top 3 offense for Florida. A top 3 defense for Florida. Brings us to the goaltending, and this is the reason why I can't rank them as high. Without Chris Driedger, there is a whole lot more pressure, again, on Sergei Bobrovsky to live up to that contract. And then there's Spencer Knight. Spencer Knight looked as good as advertised in that very small sample size, but that's a question mark for this team because if Bobrovsky can't get it done, you are relying on, I believe at this point, 21-year-old Spencer Knight. He is 20. He'll be 21 in April. He's 20. For a team that has cup aspirations, this team lives and dies with Sergei Bobrovsky unless Spencer Knight pulls a Matt Murray. And that's tough to bank on, right? And I like Spencer Knight a lot. But I think people can understand my hesitation with this team because of just how goddamn important goaltending is. So that is why I have Florida. Now, it's close, right? Between the next few teams we're talking about, it's pretty close. And like I said, the battle with the Metro for who gets those wild card spots. There are going to be some good teams that miss the playoffs. I'm scared for Florida because of their goaltending, though.
Yeah, a little bit here. If Bobrovsky doesn't bounce back or be that number one guy that he's literally getting paid for, I don't know what that franchise is going to do. Do you just give Spencer Knight the job and then have to try and shop around Bobrovsky, or even go the route of buying him out if he's that bad? You're gonna have another Brizgalov situation, but this time it's in Florida. Like it's kind of scary.
He you know,
yeah,
he'd look pretty good for the Arizona Coyotes. Just be prepared to give up a lot to get them to take that deal, but I can see that happening.
It could be definitely. Sometimes a change of scenery could also do it too. Who knows? Maybe just like a different system and how it's played. Goaltending is really weird.
Yeah,
it's very weird.
Are we ready for my next hot take?
Let me guess. You're putting my my Leafs at the bottom of your Boston Bruins. I'm ready. I can already call it.
Number 4 in the Atlantic Division, the Boston Bruins.
What? What is this? How can you? You're a traitor to your people. What are you doing? Come on.
It's true.
Come on. I appreciate it, but like you're a traitor to your people.
I know it's a horrible thing.
Is this because Charles gone?
It hurts. Yes, partially.
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily mean that I think they're going to miss the playoffs. Obviously, being in a top 4 spot in arguably the best division in the league, or the most competitive. In terms of off-season moves, there was only one real notable trade, and that was getting rid of Dan Vladar, sending him to Calgary in the aftermath of one of their big signings, Linus Ullmark in goal, coming over from Buffalo. They signed Tomas Nosek from the Vegas Golden Knights, Derek Forbort from the Winnipeg Jets, Leafs legend Nick Foligno, and Eric Holla of Nashville. That is while losing Kevin Miller to retirement, Jeremy Lauzon to the Seattle Kraken, Gregory McKegory and Jared Tenorti to the New York Rangers, Sean Corrali to the Columbus Blue Jackets, backup goaltender Yaroslav Halak to the Vancouver Canucks, Andre Kasha and Nick Ritchie to the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Thank you.
Tuukka Rask is a free agent, and David Krejci left and went back to the Czech Republic. So let's get into this. And I feel like people can tell what the mood is just off of what I mentioned right there. The Bruins offense for me is top 4. I can't put them any higher than that.
Yeah.
They still have the big 3 of Marchand, Bergeron, and Pasternak. My money, still the best line in hockey. I do still rate Jake DeBrusk highly, and I'm glad he stayed. I'm glad Craig Smith is still on the team because he's fairly well underrated. He doesn't have the biggest name in the world, but he's a really good top 6 option, and Preds fans can attest to that. But after that, I am concerned. Because with the departure of Krejci, that means Charlie Coyle has to step into that 2C spot after a disastrous season last year, probably his worst season in the NHL. He'll be next to Taylor Hall, who did re-sign with the team, but there are some questions about Taylor Hall still. You know, I don't think anyone can say with certainty that Taylor Hall is going to be who we all thought Taylor Hall would be and what he once was once upon a time. I can't say that with 100% confidence, especially with David Krejci gone. He looked so good next to Krejci, and now that's done as soon as it began. They signed Nick Foligno and Eric Holla. I think 2 guys who 5 years ago would have bolstered anyone's middle 6. I don't know if they're still that, especially as well there's injury concerns.
Right.
And from there, the bottom 6 is Trent Frederick, Curtis Lazar, Nosek, Chris Wagner, Carson Kuhlman. A lot of grit, but I'm concerned. I cannot say with 100% certainty that the Bruins have a top 3 offense in this division, and I think that's going to be very, very important.
Yeah, I didn't realize how many guys really gone from Boston.
A lot of turnover.
They had a lot of guys either leave for retirement or just kind of just say, you know what, I just want to go back home.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I respect their decision since it's their life and everything, but their team is not doing too well. And Boston fans do not do well with people leaving for their own better judgment and stuff.
How dare you put family over the sport, Tuukka Rask? Fuck, I've talked about it so many times. The people. Oh my god, the people. Let's not. We have stuff to talk about. Let's not get into that.
I know. I'm just poking the bear. It's fine.
Because you see, the Bruins defense. The Bruins defense, though, I do have as a top 2, top 3 at worst defense in this division. Right?
Yeah.
Charlie McAvoy is one of the best defensemen in the league. Period. Full stop.
Mm-hmm.
I like Mike Riley and Matt Grzelcyk a lot. But then there's the other half. Brandon Carlo's a really good defense first option. He is a bit one-dimensional. Derek Forbort getting the deal, he scares me. It's going to take some really strong play from him to show me that the Bruins didn't make a mistake in, say, bringing back Zdeno Chara instead. And then you have, like, Connor Clifton, who's okay, or John Moore if he's healthy. There's just some more question marks than I prefer with Forbort and Clifton, but it is still a really strong defense. I don't think anybody can deny that.
Right.
Unless you want to try.
No, I got nothing. I don't talk ill will towards my rival because I'm not a asshole. Why is that car? Okay, never mind. No, there was I'm not sure if you can get picks up on the audio, but there's this dude just ripping it on the street.
I mean,
almost like Piney.
But like,
yep,
I knew that's where you're going with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Goodness.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah, we're good. Okay, don't worry about it. This is all staying in, by the way.
It's perfect. Hi, Mom. Yeah.
Goaltending wise for the Bruins, though, right? Like, I have the Bruins as a top 4 offense. I have them with a top 2, top 3 defense. I do not have them as a top half goaltending situation.
Ooh.
Linus Ullmark did look pretty good behind a very poor team in Buffalo.
Right.
We don't know how he'll look behind a significantly better defense. The answer should be pretty damn good, but we don't know. It's a concern because, you know, Tuukka Rask will seemingly re-sign with the team when he's healthy. But for now, the Bruins are rolling with Ullmark and a very young Jeremy Swayman. I have confidence in both of them, but if I remove my bias from the situation, Bruins fans haven't had this much uncertainty in goal since the 05 lockout. Basically. I mean, maybe you can consider 06, 07, but then pretty much around 2008, it's like, okay, Tuukka Rask and Tim Thomas are here, and they're the constants. It's been a long damn time as a Bruins fan since I've had to worry about this. So I that's why I have them, below some of the other teams that are just above them in that regard, because it's damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, if they get back, it all depends really. If Tuukka gets back and if he gets back at 100%, I think he's not going to rush it. I think if once he's ready to go, he's ready to go and he'll sign.
Yeah.
I think it's good that he's holding out a little bit because that way, he doesn't affect their cap and doesn't anything, so they can make extra moves. They can pick up a goalie now if Tuukka says he's going to be ready by trade deadline or whatever, and pull some Tampa Bay-esque like bullshittery like that. Yeah. And then just say, okay, guys, I'm ready to go. Then they'll basically pop a guy over, make room for him, and have that go that way. I think that's what they could do, unless he does sign early and says, "Oh, I'll just go on LTIR." GMs are smart. We all know this, especially with how people are using not cap manipulation, because it is legal. If it is legal, they are doing it, and they even have meetings about it, saying, "Oh, you guys can do this. Like, you sure you want to close this loophole? No, okay, we can keep using it. Sure, all right, fine." And they'll just do what they can.
So with that, speaking of teams that have opinions on maneuvering around the cap, team number 3 in the Atlantic Division, the Montreal Canadiens.
Oh, les Canadiens! We lied about Carrie Price so you wouldn't take him, stupid Kraken! You thought he was fine. No, Zitalo, we got you. This is exactly what my like 10 years of doing French immersion got me to. So I can do a perfect impersonation.
There you go.
Perfect. Thanks, Mom.
So this might be controversial, of course, having the Habs ahead of the likes of the Bruins and the Panthers. I am well aware of that. It's not to win over any brownie points. We'll talk about their moves. They were very, very busy at the draft. Aside from that, the big pickup, Christian Dvorak from the Arizona Coyotes. In terms of other people joining the team, Cedric Paquette, David Savard, Mike Hoffman, Matthew Perreault, and most recently Sami Niku. Players leaving the team, Cale Fleury, of course, to the Seattle Kraken, Philip Deneau to the LA Kings, Corey Perry to Tampa, John Merrill to Minnesota, Thomas Tatar to the New Jersey Devils, Jesperi Kotkaniemi to the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, small move.
And then Michael Frolik to St. Louis on a PTO, Eric Gustafson to the Islanders on a PTO. They've had an interesting offseason, I will say that. I shockingly don't rate their offense as a top 4 offense. I think I have them probably in the 5 spot. It's interesting, their offense. I'll say that.
That's fitting.
Yeah, Brendan Gallagher, who I think is tremendous. Tyler Toffoli was fantastic last year. And call it a hunch, man, but I think Mike Hoffman could do this year what Tyler Toffoli did for them last year. I got a sneaking suspicion that's going to be a very good move for them. Then you have Nick Suzuki, who's already good and will probably elevate himself into that great category very soon. Dvorak had solid numbers for Arizona, so you presume he'll probably do better on a better team.
Right.
I still have doubts about Josh Anderson long term, but he was pretty damn good for them last year when healthy. And then there's Cole Caulfield, probably a favorite for Rookie of the Year. And then Jonathan Drouin, who's returning from his leave of absence, and there's a chance that we see him be the best version of himself that we've seen yet. Armia and Lehkonen aren't consistently amazing, but we know they can go off. Like, Armia was great in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the only real question marks I have are with, like, Jake Evans and Cedric Paquette. But you also have Matthew Perreault in that situation, who I think could be a solid regular game guy. And then Paul Byron will come back from injury in the new year. Mm-hmm. Like, this offense, it's an enigma. It could be top 4. It could be bottom. Like, it's just, I don't really know what to expect from them, but I have a feeling. It's just my hunch is that they're going to have they're not going to have a difficult time scoring goals. That's my hunch.
Yeah, not at all. It all just depends on their back end, and when they're not playing with a beautiful Carrie Price. That's the Leaf guy. That's what I've always told them about is you guys play great. You guys have great assets and great pieces that are able to use. Like they're in a very similar boat with the Leafs, mm-hmm. where their back end has just been like inconsistent in a way. And it just doesn't make any sense of that why they even like their playoff position last year when they got in, they basically just squeaked in. It didn't seem sustainable, but then you had Carey Price literally play out of his mind to the point that he basically played injured. And like it scares me to think that like they didn't even have Jonathan Drouin and they got to the finals. If they had him, maybe he could have made a big difference. Maybe it would have been even a longer of a series.
It's going to be the one of those unknown aspects to that Cup final. You talked about the defense. I have them as well, kind of on the bubble of 4 to 5. Now, there's no denying the loss of Shea Weber hurts a lot, but I still like Jeff Petrie, who at like the beginning of last year looked like a damn Norris candidate. He was looking great.
Oh, yeah.
I still like the analytics darling known as Brett Kulak. I like the David Savard pickup. We'll see what he does in a more improved role that he's going to have to take up in Montreal compared to what he did in Tampa. Romanov's only going to get better. And that leaves Edmondson and Sherratt. And for those two to be your 2 worst defenders, you can do worse. I mean, they provide what they provide, is what I'll say. I'm not sure if I'd want either of them for the cap hit that they're on. But, again, their defense isn't bad.
Oh, it's not like bad, but it's like Could be improved. It's a very old decor in comparison. You got guys 30, 38, 27. Like Romanov's the one young guy. A lot of their youth is like mostly up in like the forwards. I see.
Yeah. And then we get to the X Factor here. Literally, the superstar X Factor. I have Montreal's goaltending probably ranked the best for the sole purpose of you look at the tandem, right? Yeah. There's a difference for me to say what team has the best goaltending versus what team has the best goaltender. My critiques of Carrie Price are well documented. My opinion stays the same. Consistently, he's no longer the best in the world. I don't think that's controversial anywhere outside of Quebec. When he is on his game, we saw in the playoffs, he rivals Andrei Vasilevsky for that title. Mm-hmm. The problem is, do we only see that in the playoffs at this point? And for Jake Allen, to his credit, he's a really solid 1B or backup and worth the money that the team's paying. And again, it's kind of shocking that Seattle didn't end up with Price or Jake Allen. But, I mean, again, I don't think Carey Price day in and day out is the best goalie in the world, but on his day, who knows what can happen. But the fact that he has Jake Allen behind him to take the pressure off is a hell of a situation for the Habs. It's a positive situation for the Habs, I should say.
Yeah, just like when he's on, he's on, but when he's off, oh god, he's off. Like the numbers don't really show it. Like goal against average, like it's one thing, but the save percentage kind of shows it a little bit more, especially with Price. Where when he's on, like he's like lights out. Like you're winning that game. You're winning it through. Like look at how he just carried them through the Toronto series. Like he was just off for a little bit, and then just when he needed to be on, he's on. He has a perfect switch just to like hop in there and just get the job done. But it makes you wonder if they had the chance to run a 3 goalie tandem and give Price less time or pay not like pay. They already pay him $10 million a year, but give them like less opportunities to play during the regular season and have them push up more for the playoffs. I mean, granted, because of their cap situation, they can't really do that. But in a perfect world, I probably think they would be doing that.
So with that, Endo, that leaves 2. The team I have in second in the Atlantic Division, the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Ooh.
That's fair. Like, come on.
That's fair. That's very fair. There should be like an asterisk on there, and it says not past the first round, because God Almighty, if we don't get past the first round this year.
Well, we'll talk. We got a couple of things to talk about the Leafs here as we're getting close to the end of the show. Obviously, it's just Toronto and Tampa to talk about now. The Leafs offseason, highlighted by the acquisition of Jared McCann, only to lose him in the expansion draft. Aside from that, you look at players joining the team, and they've had a lot. Peter Mrazek from Carolina. Then guys like depth options like Alex Biega, Carl Dahlstrom, again, another depth option. Josh Hosang, which, by the way, we got asked by Benjamin, can Josh Hosang revitalize his career with the Leafs? What do you think as a Leafs fan? Does Josh Hosang end up getting a contract with the team?
I think there's a strong possibility that he will, but I don't think... I think he's going to be used as trade bait in a way. It was good for everyone says that Alex Galchenyuk revitalized his career when he was with Toronto. He just played with really strong players that just kind of made him look good in a way. He did have that big turnover in the playoffs, which basically caused Game 7. I think it caused Game 7 or Game 6. Can't remember which one. So that's a big gaffe on him. But I think Hosang would, if he does get a contract out of camp and out of the preseason, this will be his first chance to show that he really is still that top dominant first round pick that he was expected to be. Because there's always an asterisk around him, whether it was a personality thing or there was just his skill and being a little level headed. I think he could do well. I really do hope he does well, especially with the Buds. But you never know. Maybe Lou was right with keeping him down. Maybe Lou was wrong. I just think he's got to take this moment and run with it. So far, out of the preseason, he's been doing really well. He's been helping Michael Bunting, who's also a surprise player, get that hat trick here tonight. But then again, it's preseason.
Yeah.
If I get the hat trick, it doesn't really mean he's going to be a superstar or anything. Unless you're Austin Matthews getting 5 goals in your first NHL game. I don't know.
In terms of other additions that are around with the team right now, I'm not going to clarify PTO or not, but Curtis Gabriel, David Kampf, Michael Bunting, Mike Amadio, Brett Seney, Kasha and Richie, like all these guys, Nikita Gusev, that might make the team. Like, just throw everything at the wall and see what can happen. In terms of players that left the team, obviously Jared McCann. Cover your ears, Endo, for this one. I'll let you know when you can listen again. Zach Hyman.
I can still hear it. Fuck.
They also lost Zach Bogosian, Frederick Anderson, Nick Patan, Nick Foligno, David Riddick, Callie Rosen, Riley Nash, Stefan Nason, Joe Thornton, Scott Sabrin, and Alex Galchenyuk. Just constant flux.
Fire.
Constant joining, constant arrivals and departures. That said, when looking at this team, I have them as a top 3 offense in the division, of course. Matthews, Marner, Tavares, Nylander, dare I say Michael Bunting. The first 4 are fantastic players. And hey, all aboard the Bunting hype train. Why not? But from there, room for concern. I won't be surprised if Nick Ritchie does well, or Kasha for that matter, if he can stay healthy. I don't mind Engvall and Spezza for the bottom 6. But you look at questions. Are there questions about Ilya Mikheyev? Yes. Are there concerns about Alex Kerfoot and keeping him over losing McCann? Yes. Are there concerns, I'd say, about David Kampf and Wayne Simmons? Yes. So perhaps too many concerns, but still a top 3 offense in the division.
Yeah, I believe in my boys. I treat them as my sons, but it just doesn't. This is definitely a team where it's like, they've been saying we need to win now. We need to win now. This is the year where you basically say we need to get this done, because just recently, Sheldon Keefe just re-signed for I think another 2 years, and you're now looking at Dubas, and Dubas's master plan is basically finally in fruition. You have no contracts left over from Lou Lamoriello. Nothing. This is your whole clean slate. This is everything. This is basically like your prodigal son. You have to get it done now. If you don't get out of the first round, there's already people asking for your head, but now there's going to be a legitimate riot down at Air Canada Center or Scotiabank Arena, just basically calling for not even your head, just anything. It's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that we're in a situation with a team that's in such a drought, almost on 60 years now. So
my question to you is, Pierre LeBrun reported that Sheldon Keefe has agreed to a 2-year contract extension as the head coach of the Leafs. He was entering the final year of his deal. He is now signed until 23-24. If they don't make it out of the first round this year, though, the presumption is that Kyle Dubas is gone.
Oh, yeah.
Which makes you think that Sheldon Keefe, would he stick around? Because obviously whenever a GM's hired, they always bring in their guy. This really seems like it's it, right? This has to be the year that some progress is made, or shit's going to hit the fan.
Yeah, we've had record-setting seasons over the past 2-3 years and everything, but when we just come to the playoffs, it's just like nothing, all for naught. At this point, I'd rather the Leafs squeak in with a wild card spot. I remember the word now. I remember they squeak in with a wild card slot and just kind of be there, but still be able to go up and dominate or get through and get past the first round. If they get past the first round this year, for me, it will be the equivalency of Montreal winning one single game in the Stanley Cup final, having a riot. That will be the equivalency for me. I won't go fucking flip cars and smash cop cars. Trust me. I don't need to do anything with the police alone right now as the way it is. Absolutely, yeah. I hope to God they get it this year. I don't want to pray, but I might pray.
So what you're saying is we're going to have to review the All or Nothing episodes, right?
Yes.
Coming soon to this channel. Who knows? Maybe we do that as a Patreon exclusive. We review All or Nothing. That'd be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Quickly for the rest of the Leafs, their defense, honestly, I think they have a shout for maybe on paper having the top defense in the division. Don't shoot me. But Morgan Riley, TJ Brody, and Jake Muzzin, that's a really goddamn good top three, even if, Riley, more of the offensive defenseman, but, that trio gives any other defensive trio in this division a run for their money. Justin Hall is fine. The questions are Sandin and Dermott. I like them both. They are question marks, so if you didn't want to rank Toronto 1, 2, or 3, I'd get it. But, we'll see. The big three need to be the big three, and Sandin and Dermott really need to step up.
Spot on. That's basically it. Also, I love how everyone forgot about Timothy Lindgren.
Oh, yeah,
Everyone forgot about Lindgren.
We're just like, he's out of there.
Yeah, whatever. It's like, we have Swede, but the better Swede.
We have the Uber Swede.
Yeah. I feel bad for him.
So goaltending for the Leafs then. I have them kind of middle of the road right now. Because Peter Mrazek, I've mentioned, is an enigma. He is capable of putting up really solid numbers, if not fantastic numbers, but he is also capable of the opposite of that. So tell me, Endo, how much, how different is he really from Freddie Anderson?
Ooh, that's a good
Off
question.
of that description,
Off
how
of that
different is
description?
he?
Oh man, not that much. I just hope the media doesn't just mess with him. They already like him so much. The fans like him enough that he has 2 sets. He has 2 sets of gear. One for home, one for away. So that way, like, he gets the full solid blue with the white stripe for the home, and then for the away, he has the all white with the blue stripe, inverted basically. It looks very clean. He's definitely becoming an easy fan favorite. I hope to God that they don't chew him apart, because he's here for like a good 2 more years. Campbell's contract expires. Everyone loves Campbell because he's so easygoing, so nice and friendly and all that. I think what they might do is try out Mrazek, or they might do a play and you stay, win and you're out kind of circle. They did that for a bit with Campbell after he lost a few games with Freddie while he was nursing an injury, and hopefully it's all smooth sailings from here.
I was gonna say, I still like Jack Campbell quite a bit. It's a good situation, but of course it's the Leafs, so there are questions in goal. Quickly here, because we are having to wind things down on this particular show, this particular episode, I do want to talk about the team that I think I and everyone else will have number 1 in their particular division, the Tampa Bay Lightning, who underwent quite an offseason of change. You lose Barclay Goodrow. You acquire Brent Seabrook's LTIR deal in exchange for Tyler Johnson and a second. You moved on from Mitch Stevens as well. Other players leaving, I mean, you lose Yanni Gourde to Seattle, Luke Shen to Vancouver, Blake Coleman to Calgary, David Savard to Montreal. There were a lot of changes. Curtis McElhaney and Anders Nilsson both retired. Granted, Nilsson didn't play last year due to concussion issues. Joining the team, Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, Zach Bogosian, Andre Schuster randomly came back.
Wait, Bogo went back?
Oh yeah, Bogosian's on Tampa. Yeah.
Bogo won a cup, and then he went, okay, I'm going to go with the Leafs.
And then said, I screwed up, man.
He went, fuck this, I'm out. He went back.
Charles Hudon, the Leafs, not Leafs legend, excuse me, Habs legend, ended up signing with the team. They got Brian Elliott, Remy Ellie, Corey Perry. Like, there was a lot of changes on Tampa. Not controversial. I probably have them with the league's or the division's top offense. The train just keeps rolling. It's Point, Kucherov, Stamkos. The latter 2 when healthy. Kaloran's fantastic. Cirelli and Joseph are great. Maybe some questions about Andre Palat, but I wouldn't bet against him. You have Ross Colton and Alex Beret-Boulet, who are probably going to be great because, of course, they are. Those are just the 2 new guys for Tampa where it's like, hey, they're great now. And everyone's like, what the fuck? Where'd you find these guys? Bellemar's a decent pickup. And then that leaves like Perry and Maroon, who aren't what they used to be, but they're still effective in their own ways. The monster really hasn't been all that weakened. It sucks.
Not really.
Oh, God. And then defensively here, because like I said, we'll run through this. Honestly, I have them probably as like a middle-of-the-road defense, dude. Like Victor Hedman, we talked about it based off of like the EA ratings. Is he what he used to be?
Yeah.
Is he playing with an injury? Did he turn it on for the playoffs? I don't know. Like, maybe he's elite, maybe he's not, but it's still Victor Hedman. He'll win the Norris this year because I'm even questioning it. Ryan McDonough's still really good. Eric Chernok's really good. Yeah. Sergachev's still okay. Then you have like Ruda and Bogosian who are meh, which is where maybe the opening is there to say, hey, what about Toronto's big three? They're going to be fine. And then in goal, I have Tampa with the second best goaltending in the division. They do have the top goaltender in the world, in Andrei Vasilevsky. That's not controversial to say, but I just don't know about Brian Elliott as a backup. Whereas, like when I said Montreal, Price and Allen, in terms of a tandem, I have more confidence in that than Vasilevsky and Elliott. Not to say I don't have confidence in Vasi. And GM Julien Brisebois has agreed to an extension with the team, of course. So, Endo, your thoughts on Tampa here as we wind down this show. Again, no controversy at all to be like, Tampa good. Tampa good.
Tampa good. Tampa could repeat, maybe. There's a small chance they could repeat. They are very strong. They did lose a few key pieces to keep some salary and have some room over there. I think they could do well. It all depends on the season. You never know, especially in a sport like hockey, where you could have an up, you can have a down, and just go right through. Like remember St. Louis got through, and they just got on a massive hot streak and then winning the cup. So anything's possible. I would love to see them do a three-peat over as much as it's like counterintuitive. I'm a Leaf guy and say like, oh, my Leafs if they don't win, whatever. But if they see a three-peat during like a salary cap era like this, like back to back to back, that's gonna be ridiculous. I feel like there might be some strengthening with the CBA agreement next time that comes around over this stuff because they're gonna try to stranglehold them as much as they can.
Yeah. I mean, if Tampa wins 3 in a row, then it's over. The rules are changing for sure.
Oh, yeah.
There's no way that's gonna stay otherwise. So again, hey everybody, thank you for sticking with us here on this first show. We are gonna wind things down. Sorry that we didn't verbally blow Tampa too much, but come on, you guys don't need it at this point. Yeah. Again, it's gonna be different around here. Different show, different vibe. We're gonna figure things out as we go along. But Endo, again, I mean, I'm glad to have you here as a part of the show. You were going to be here today no matter what. Turns out you're just sticking around.
Yeah.
And, man, I'm looking forward to what this turns into.
I am too. But you should also look forward to keeping yourself maintained with Manscaped. That's right, baby. You know what's funny? I've been doing these like plugins for Manscaped on Tougie's channel as a joke, but I can do it finally for real now. This is actually, I'm actually kind of hyped. Like I'm actually getting kind of ready. So hopefully I don't blow this now. So if you're looking to clean up real nice and good for whatever reasons, you need to go to manscaped.com and use code Tougie for 20% off and free worldwide shipping. Yeah, you got the lawnmower, you got the ball toner, you got I don't have the script in front of me, so I know. But I know it's a really great product. I'm looking to get mine next week, actually, so I'm going to use that code Tougie at checkout. 20% off your order for free worldwide shipping. There you go.
Absolutely beautiful. He's a natural. Everybody, he fits in already. Again, hey, thank you so much for joining us here. We will be back next week for our last two, the other half of our season prediction shows, of course. Next week, the Metro and the Pacific. Very much looking forward to that. Again, a big thanks to Manscaped for sticking with us. A big thanks to you for sticking with us here through this period of change. We'll see you all next week. Endo, you have the last word. What's it going to be?
Follow me on Twitch and Twitter at EndoMills. Also, I have merch because I'm a big clout chaser. I've clout chased my way to get this position right now. So if you go to endomills.ca, you can buy yourself the clout chaser merch, t-shirt, poster. I think it's on a mug now, and some other stuff that I have as well. I have a very nice design with my logo on it. You can't for audio listeners. It's like a logo. It's kind of similar to the Dodgers logo, but it's legally distinct because it's a hockey puck. It's different. Don't worry about it. Just check it out. Endomills.ca. It's beautiful. I made it with my heart and my sleeves. That's all I got.
We'll see you next week, everybody.
See ya.